Hello, everyone. Welcome to Off the Menu with me, Minnie Jacob, the co-founder of Oddbox and the Fast Food and Cafe Convention. This is a podcast where we're going to be sharing ideas and thoughts and stories and actually getting to know industry professionals better, getting to know what they are, who they are, what they believe in, how they got to where they are, and of course, the learnings along the way. And today I have with me a guest who practically needs no introduction. He's a veteran from the industry, Mr. Tapan Vaidya, the CEO of PJP Investments, and which is, of course, the owner and operator of Papa Johns across UAE, Saudi, and Jordan. And thank you so much, Tapan, for being with us.
Oh, thank you, Minnie, for inviting me.
And of course, not to forget the latest addition to your job titles, that of Treasurer of UAERG, the voice of reason for the F&B industry in the country. So happy to have you on the show, Tapan.
Thank you.
Well, as I understand, your work life started in hotels and you moved on to restaurants with Pizza Hut to start with?
Yes, that's correct. In fact, it's a nice story how I got into hotels and the business, really. So I used to do my undergrad studies in mathematics. I'm from a family of mathematicians, so that was the natural thing to do. Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. That's when, like most teenagers, they need cash. So I wanted to earn some money. started knocking doors of local businesses and finally found favor at a restaurant where I would work in the evenings from 5 to 1, do my studies in the daytime. And that's how I got my first taste. And I soon realized that this is a place that I fell in love with immediately, because I realized that if you take good care of a customer, you put a smile on his face. Not only that, he ends up giving you a nice fat tip, which was all the motivation I needed back then. But no, also it came with, understanding what the food industry was all about, understanding food taste profile, understanding different cuisines. So no, I fell in love early. And at the first good opportunity, I applied with the Taj group of hotels in India. And fortunately, I was successful in that attempt. And I started working in Taj in Mumbai before I finally came to the Middle East.
Right. So, I mean, clearly, from your love for food, the F&B industry is very evident from the fact that you have spent 21 long years with Papa Johns as a brand, with initially with Jawad Business Group and then with PJP. So that's fantastic. Now, I'm guessing, and that too coming from a family of mathematicians. So, so somewhere for having reached where you are today, I'm sure the discipline plays a big role in this, right? So you must be a pretty disciplined person, I would guess. And who or what would you attribute that, learning from? Or
I think discipline is a very important element if you want to shape your life and make sure there is real progress. Without discipline, you're not in control. In fact, you are out of control. And then the progress becomes, it's like a shotgun process where you are firing in all directions. So I think discipline is extremely important. My father was a great disciplinarian, and I have learned a lot from him. Although I would have, when I was a child, perhaps I would have said he's an old-fashioned disciplinarian. But I would think that the Gen Zers of today would probably think I am an old-fashioned. But I think discipline is important in life. And yes, I surround myself with certain disciplines, and I live by them day in, day out. And that basically makes life easy, makes progress easy.
Right. So you are particular about certain things, and that's how you are with the team and everything. Do they know what are the things that you're, particular about?
Yes, I mean, there are some things which are very simple. We do. I try to be in office before 8 o'clock every morning.
Wow.
And we have this nice tradition in office, which everyone is expected to follow, and thank God they do.
Mm-hmm.
That whoever comes to the office first, of course, he's the first. But then the second person who enters the office every morning has to go to the first person who came and wish good morning.
Oh, wow.
And then the third person comes, he has to wish the first two good morning, and so on and forth. And that we do that every day, and it works out well, because then, everyone not only wants to come earlier than the other, but equally there is interaction right off the bat.
Right, right. So that's a good way to kind of build the bonhomie amongst the team.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So are you a strict boss, or like?
I may not be the best person to answer that, but I would like to think I'm a balanced boss. I think I try to. So if I had to, quantify what kind of leadership I exercise, I think I would be probably 94% democratic.
Okay.
Maybe 4% autocratic.
Okay.
And maybe the balance 1 or 2% laissez-faire.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think it's important to listen. I'm a good listener, and I think that's very important for any leader. If you don't listen, then you are probably missing all the possible resources that you actually have at hand. So I'm a good listener. I listen and finally make a decision.
That's amazing, because I think that listening part is what most of us forget to do. Everybody has thoughts and ideas which you're just so really wanting to share with everyone, that pausing and listening to what the other person is saying does not really come as a natural thing for most of us, I think. But that's amazing. I also understand that you, with all the new joinees in your company, you do spend time, whoever it is, you take time out to, talk to them personally. That's
absolutely. This is something I do not fail to do. Every new joinee get to spend time with me for about 20-25 minutes at least, where I discuss, the vision of the organization, the mission that we are on, and the values we expect everyone, including me, to practice. And they understand that, and that sets them up to unleash and grow within this culture that we've tried to build in the organization.
That's fantastic, because sometimes when employees get that chance to talk to the topmost person in the organization, that itself gives them that sense of warmth and homeliness, right?
No, true. And when they hear from the horse's mouth that these are the values we expect everyone, including him, to practice, then it makes a big impact.
Yeah.
And yes, I think I have been fortunate that I have been able to do this, and I continue to do this, irrespective of whether the new joinee is in Saudi Arabia or UAE or Jordan. And I am hoping that I'll never stop that. That's
fantastic. That's lovely. What would you say is the hardest part about your job? I mean, something that people would not have known or thought about. What do you think is the hardest?
Unfortunately, there are many hard aspects, to this business. So let me start with one. When things are not in your control, how do you perform is one aspect that's really difficult in this job. For example, COVID. I mean, COVID was in nobody's control, certainly not in my control. And the situation was dire. We are talking about end of March 2020, when suddenly UAE, and actually the world over, but UAE shut down all the malls. Now, at that point in time, we had about 46 restaurants in the UAE, and half of them were in malls. So suddenly, your business shrunk by half.
Yeah.
And of course, people started not going out. They were not eating out. So even from the remaining restaurants, we were not doing the kind of business that we were supposed to. But then we had to rise to the challenge. First thing was, how do we keep our costs in check? And next was, how do we increase sales? So immediate thoughts were, okay, how many people should we let go? But then I made a very clear and important decision at that point in time that we are not going to let a single soul go to COVID.
Wow.
Simply because we have so many people trained. COVID will come and go. Where will we find these trained
Yeah.
professionals once COVID is gone? And so we decided to keep everyone, and we then started working on how do we respond to this the circumstances created by COVID. So we then looked at the remaining number of restaurants. We increased or expanded the trade area boundaries of these restaurants and started, okay, we used to deliver pizzas in 8 minutes. Now we started taking maybe 11, 12 minutes. But we expanded the trade area of each location. And thereby we tried to bridge the gap between what we used to turn over versus during COVID. And as malls started opening up, as the business just bounced back tremendously. In fact, we started recruiting soon after.
Yeah.
Forget about letting people go. We started recruiting and we started opening more and more restaurants. And as you can tell, we were 46 back then, and that's only 4 years ago. Now we are 125.
Oh, wow. That is, unbelievable and totally commendable. And what you've just said about not letting people go through COVID, I think very few companies were actually, or I'm not even sure, I don't have the statistics for that, but I don't think people were able to manage that. And for a brand like yours with so many people, that is truly commendable. Now, everybody came, of course, like you said, COVID was not anyone knew what it would be and something that would come along like the way it did. But everybody it impacted everybody in different ways. Of course, businesses were impacted, but how were you impacted in a personal way? Was there something that you took out of it personally?
Yes, COVID forced people indoors. So that was one very hard aspect of that whole episode. But I think I soon realized that as the CEO, it was important that I started visiting restaurants and show my face to my team members who are somehow managing to reach the locations and putting in the hard shifts. And so I started doing that, and I realized that it's not so bad after all. And yes, we had to take all the precautions. We had to make sure that, sanitization, etc., was in order everywhere, in every location. Every surfaces had to be clean and sanitized. But I think soon our customers realized that we were sincere about this. And our delivery business obviously was very heavy during that period, and it's continued to be so. And of course, pizza is a delivery centric product. So, but it worked out that time.
That's great. Um, of course, as the CEO of a business of this size, there would be a lot of moments of stress and pressure, right? So, talk to me about how do you overcome anxiety and overwhelm in your role? It's impossible to say that you don't go through that, but what is it that helps you to overcome these moments?
I think for a good reason, I am not able to identify what is stress and what is anxiety.
Wow.
So, but I understand what the world means when they say anxiety and stress. And I guess I go through that too without realizing what it is. But I think um, I just love my work so much that I guess I don't consider those feelings as anxious or stressful, but What I do anyway, apart from my work, is I read books, I play golf at least one round a week, if not more, and I watch movies too. So these things do help. But having said that, it's not that I'm in a hurry to break away from my work.
Okay.
So I love my work.
So work is life, or is there a work-life balance somewhere?
Exactly. I've been asked this question before, work-life balance. It's relative, really. For me, life is work. And so I am in balance.
I think I should ask your wife the question, right? Fair enough. Now, again, I've heard it said often that it's lonely at the top. Like, there are not many people you can confide in, you can talk to. The problems that you go through are yours alone, right at the top. Do you feel that way?
It's a good cliche, this it's lonely at the top. The origin of this is from William Shakespeare's Henry IV. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. But of course, he was talking about royalty. And for a king, so to speak, sense of entitlement is hereditary, right? For a CEO, not quite so. But yet, and I understand why CEOs would feel lonely at the top, because they want to perhaps hold themselves to higher standards. They also end up making hard decisions, and also hefty accountability fosters this loneliness. And to be honest, yes, I think when I started leading a business many, many, many years ago, I felt that sense of loneliness. But I think I got over that very soon, because I realized it's not going to help matters. So there are two things I do, really. One is make sure that I roam around with friends away from work,
right?
Like-minded friends from the industry as well as outside the industry. So that's where my role as the treasurer and on being on the executive board of UAE Restaurants Group, that really helps, because I mingle with like-minded professionals, and we discuss work, we discuss issues concerning the industry. I also play golf with a group of friends who are leaders in their own right, in their own industries. So that really helps. And I try to, on the other hand, mingle with my team as much as I can. And so that helps. For example, we have a table tennis table in the breakout area. That's amazing. In the office. We conduct a tournament every season.
Oh, really?
So the last season, I came third in the company.
Wow, that's creditable.
And it helps in every way. So life can be lonely at the top, but not if you work hard at making it not so.
Right. You talked about hard decisions that you have to take as the CEO. Is there any time that you have taken a hard decision which you regretted later on?
Oh, many times. I think that's way of life, really. Way of life for any CEO is to make decisions.
Right.
The problem starts when you don't make, when you're indecisive, when there is inaction. That's when the problems happen. You've got to make decisions, and you've got to make decisions you believe in. And so what happens is you will end up making mistakes, but then you learn from every mistake too. And so the quality of decisions you make over time get better and better. And so that's what I've always believed in. I've made mistakes, no question, but I've learned from each. And as a result, I make fewer mistakes now. Not that I'm not going to make any, but it will be rarer and rarer.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, absolutely. I would also think it's very important to learn from those mistakes and try to see what you get out of not just mistakes, out of every situation in life, I would think. Right? I know when we were talking earlier, you mentioned that excellence is something that you care about, you're passionate about. So what motivates you to strive for excellence even in challenging times? Of course, we talked about COVID, but generally, apart from the pandemic situation, what is it that motivates you to strive for that?
See, I've always believed that if you chase excellence, success will chase you. So that has always driven me towards, excellence. That has always driven me towards asking everyone in my team to achieve excellence in everything that they do. And what has happened is when you chase excellence, sometimes success may take time, but it always is attained. And what it also does is chasing excellence or striving for excellence shapes all your behavior in a much more consistent way throughout, that everyone sees that you are genuine, that you really are going for excellence. It's not that one day you are and the other day you're different. Mm-hmm. So no, excellence is a way of life here at Papa Johns, and that's what we try to achieve, and that really is why our customers will want to come back.
Right. And talking of customers, every restaurant here wants to put a smile on the face of the customer, like you said at the beginning of the conversation as well. Are there any particular things that you follow at Papa Johns that puts that smile up there?
Oh, yes. So we have this, our mission is to practice ROC and ABCD. Mm-hmm. So what's ROC? That's return of customer. Mm-hmm. Take such great care of every customer, of every order, irrespective of what your position is. That's what I tell my teams. You could be a front of the house team member, you could be in the back, in the kitchen, you could be the manager, you could be a driver. But you must take such great care from your side of that customer that the customer only thinks of returning. And if the customer keeps returning, that's how you grow your business. And ABCD is going above and beyond the call of duty. If you go ABCD, ROC will naturally happen. And then what I tell them further is that you take care of ROC, ROI will take care of itself.
That's true. That's very true. And I think training, of course, obviously training your staff plays a big role in the ABCD that you talked about and the return of customer as well, right? So anything specific that
absolutely.
you do?
We take training extremely seriously. And I'm also very happy that the brand takes it very seriously too. So we have a pizza academy here in our office, fully equipped classroom with all the modern tools. We also have a special training portal where every new joiner, as well as long-serving employees, they all keep in touch with every topic about Papa John's standards, and they are trained in that using the portal. And so at any point in time, I have visibility over who is trained how much and in what. And we believe in cross-functional training, so we make sure that every team member knows everything about every station in the restaurant. And training is a big thing. Training and development, that is what is going to grow everyone individually, professionally.
Right. So even the menu, I'm guessing the staff that serves and all are very familiar with the menu. And when you have some new innovations, they're trained on what those are all about as well?
Absolutely. So there's a proper deck of training that is distributed, and every team member is taken through that before every innovation is launched.
Okay.
So that the team member can not only describe what the innovation is to the customer, but also equally make it as best as possible.
Right. So when you're talking of innovation, do you believe in innovating often or maintaining consistency, or how do you balance that out?
Exactly. The key is balance. So when you are a pizza brand of international size and scale, and when you have 125 restaurants, you are reaching out to every corners of the society, and so you have all kinds of customers. And especially pizza is such a product that it knows no boundaries, right? You can't say that one nationality prefers pizza more than the other. You can't even say that one age group prefers pizza over the other. So it's a product loved by all. And so what is really important is we make sure our quality remains consistent, so customers know they rely on our quality irrespective of the location they go to. But equally, we have many customers who also look for something new. So you need to come up with. So we try to hit at least 4 innovations per annum.
Okay.
So say one a quarter, and that keeps these customers interested to try something new. And often they would they'll enjoy the new product, and if they don't, we always have the usual favorites. So, for example, we recently launched crispy palm pizza. Now that is a seriously good innovation where we flip the pizza and applied cheese at the bottom of the crust.
Oh, wow.
So imagine a pizza which is the normal crust, sauce, toppings, and cheese, mozzarella, and now at the bottom you have Parmesan Reggiano, not nicely stuck to the bottom, making the pizza really crisp, cheesy, outstanding. So
okay.
It's a great product.
I'm already drooling. I know exactly what to order in my next Papa John's order. Going back now in time, if I was to ask you that, what do you wish you knew in your 20s that you know now? What do you have to say to that?
I think if I had known in my 20s that it is not just the destination that's important, but the journey is to be enjoyed too. If I had known that the way I know that now, I guess I would have had an even better time than I've had. But, there are certain things you always realize over time. And especially if you are independent minded like I was, you don't want to listen to others too many times.
Most of us are like that.
And
Yeah.
so that is also another thing I feel I could have done better. But yeah.
But that's beautiful, because I think that learning of the journey is as important as the destination. I think comes to most of us quite later in life. But the fact that it comes itself is good. At least it's there now, better late than never kinds. But because as youngsters, you're more driven to particular objectives or goals that you have in life. And
no, true. And then what that has also allowed me to do or think and believe in is that now is the time. Not that it is now the time, but it has always been the time. But I've realized it more often in the last few years, last 5 years or so, that this industry has done so much to me, so much for me, that it is time for me to give back as much as I can. And I do not lose out on a single opportunity to give back what I can.
That's fantastic, Tapan. And I think we are at Fast Food and Cafe Convention, we have been part of that giving back. You have helped us through in such an amazing way that, thank you so much for that, of course. Now we've come to another section of the podcast in which I'm going to ask you a few statements, and I want you to tell me whether you agree or disagree with that. Okay, so let's start with it. So, extending operating hours results in a notable increase in overall profitability. Agree or disagree? First thing that comes to your mind.
No, I mean, see, everything is so relative, and a case study is required. What the case? I mean, so for example, I will give you an example. We have at least a dozen restaurants where we decided to extend operating hours during Ramadan.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because people do fast, from early morning, so they eat late in the night. So it all depends on whether it has to be a commercial decision And if that is a requirement, we should. But we also have restaurants where we had to cut down on operating hours just to make sure that every transaction is well catered for by the right number of employee count.
Right. And this one, I think I know the answer to this already, but I will ask you. Investing heavily in a grand opening event provides long-term benefits to the restaurant's reputation and customer base.
See, I've always believed the start is extremely important of any task you do, and especially if you're opening a restaurant. See, any new restaurant, there's always a novelty value, the so-called honeymoon period, which tapers off, and that is bound to happen. So the higher you start, the tapering off will be that much higher, and
Will take
therefore it's
longer.
absolutely, and that's why it's really important to have the right kind of spend, make noise, get as many bums through the door as possible, and then when the taper off happens, you still have a reasonable volume.
Right. Fair enough. And I love seeing all your posts on LinkedIn about all the openings that you do have. Okay, the next one is focusing on takeout and delivery services over dine-in experience is a more sustainable growth strategy.
In the pizza business, yes, but not necessarily true of some other businesses. But in the kind of pizza business model that we operate in, absolutely. Customers today, they want convenience. They want the pizza delivered fresh and hot to their home. They want to watch live sports eating pizza. They want to watch a movie eating pizza. People have forgotten that in the 90s, families used to go to pizza restaurants and
have
that
pizzas.
is no longer the case.
Exactly. Okay, and the last one, maintaining a consistent quality of food and service is more important than occasionally offering discounts and promotions.
I would agree in the sense that, quality is always of utmost importance. If you tinker with quality, you are dead and buried. If you tinker with your prices, you probably will have the opportunity to come back. But quality is the biggest factor why a customer would visit a restaurant.
Fair enough. Thank you, Tapan. That brings us to the end of this podcast. And thank you so much for giving us the time and being with us and allowing us to get to know you better. It's always nice to know the man behind the brand. So with that, we sign off on Off the Menu with Tapan Vaidya this time. Thank you.